Okay, good morning, everybody. To another.
And your Zoom took over again. We lost the rabbi. Your Zoom took it over.
No, the rabbi's
That
issue.
never happened before.
Yeah, it happened last week. Now Rabbi's the host again. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, you did it once before. You said you have your own Zoom?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's weird. Okay. Oh God, the dogs. The dogs are going crazy. Hold on. Simba!
Oops, okay, I'm back. I lost everybody for a second. 1 second, one more time. One more time.
If you really care, it's
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're on live.
Okay,
Good morning as we go to the portion, PArsha Ki Tisa. One of the most talked about portions in the Torah, which deals with the golden calf, as so understood. I'm sure you read the portion already, but we are not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about a different part of the PArsha. We're going to talk about the later on in the PArsha, which talks about the mitzvah to wear tefillin and a talis. We all know that when you come to shul during the week, you'll see that all men wear tefillin. They wear talis and tefillin during the davening. So the question is, where does it come from? Why do we put on tefillin during the whole davening? Why do we put on a talis during the whole davening? Right? You know we have to put on tefillin, but we know that we put on tefillin once you can put on tefillin and say Shema. Why is there a mitzvah to put on the tefillin and wear it for 45 minutes during prayer? And why is it a mitzvah to put on a talis? That we put on we put on a talis. It's not a mitzvah actually, but it's a custom by Jews that we put on a talis. Where does it come from? This custom that we do. So the basic concept, really, what does tefillin have to do with the Shema, and what does the talis have to do with the Shema? So really, you can put on tefillin, and the mitzvah maybe is us to say the bracha, lo niach tefillin, or lo sata betalis, tzitzis. But the halacha says, the Gemara says in the Gemara in brachas, the Gemara says in text number 1 on page 134, kol hakoyda krishma b'lei tefillin. So we're talking to men. Whoever says the Shema without wearing tefillin, he'll made eidish sheker b'atzmai. Is like he's sworn testimony against himself. Why? Because he says in the Shema, I will bind him on my hand, and there'll be as a sign between my eyes. So as he's saying these words, he's not wearing tefillin. So basically, you're testifying to yourself that you're not doing the mitzvah. So therefore, for sure, you need to say the Shema when you're wearing tefillin. It wouldn't make sense to saying the Shema if you're not wearing tefillin. And then the next thing, the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch in text number 2 says the same thing about talis. Kol hakoyda krishma b'lei tzitzis. Whoever says the Shema without wearing tzitzis, made eidish sheker b'atzmai. Also, he's false testimony against himself because he basically is saying something that he's not doing. It says in the Shema that you shall see the tzitzis and you shall remember the mitzvahs, and you should wear tzitzis. So therefore, now we know at least when you say the Shema, you need as a man to wear, because it's a mitzvah seisha zman grama. A woman doesn't have to do it because it's not a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that has a time. Tefillin and tzitzis are both mitzvahs that are only obligated in the daytime, not at night. So therefore, it's a mitzvah shazman grama. It's a mitzvah that has to do with time. A woman is not obligated in mitzvah shazman grama. They're not obligated in this mitzvah. The whole argument, if they want to do the mitzvah, the famous statement that Ashi's daughters put on tefillin. But that's a separate conversation. And Al Pi Halacha, that's correct. If a woman wants to put on tefillin, wants to put on a talis, it wouldn't per se be Hepech Halacha. It wouldn't be the opposite of the law. But in general, she's not obligated. That's the difference. Whether she puts on tefillin or not, whether Rashi's daughters put on tefillin, maybe they did put on tefillin, but they were not obligated to put on tefillin. The shul didn't have the obligation of putting on tefillin. A man is obligated to put on tefillin. Mitzvahs say it's a positive commandment. You say in the Shema that you will put on tefillin. You're going to bind it on your hand, and it'll be as a frontal between your eyes, and you're going to do this mitzvah. So you're obligated to do the mitzvah. It's not given up to your free, your own choice to put on tefillin. You're obligated to put on tefillin. That's a big difference between a man and a woman. So the real question is, okay, so we know we have to put on tefillin, at least for the Shema. The real question is, why do you put on tefillin the whole time? Why do we put on tefillin a whole davening? I daven 45 minutes, an hour in the morning. I wear tefillin. I wear talis. Where does a talis and tefillin originate? What's the spiritual significance of a Jew wearing a talis and tefillin? We know the Lubavitcher Rebbe came out in 1967 with a campaign that to get all men to put on tefillin. You don't put them on you don't get them dressed for an hour. He wouldn't put on tefillin. He puts on tefillin. He say the Shema, first chapter Shema. That's it.
Yeah.
You ship him off. And that's it. You ship him off on his way. So actually, the tefillin and the talis stems from a hidden concept. Besides the mitzvah and the Torah, it stems from a hidden concept. The meaning of these two concepts that a man does every day on Shabbos, he only wears a talis. Yesterday and today, in the Ki Tisa of yesterday and today, the fifth chapter, the fourth chapter, the fourth part of the fourth reading of the Chumash yesterday and the fifth today is extremely high concepts, very spiritual concepts in this the whole conversation between Moshe Rabbeinu and God. This is holding at actually the night before the night of Yom Kippur. This whole story, today's reading and yesterday's reading, all happened on the night of Yom Kippur, and where Moshe Rabbeinu pleads by God he comes to God. God is ready to forgive the Jewish nation, and you see that he did. Moshe Rabbeinu has this concept of seeing. He says, let's look at the verse. I have to tell it to you right over here, 3a. Hashem, these are self-understood. These psukim are extremely many commentators on these psukim. What's the meaning behind these psukim? So Moses says to God, please grant me a vision of your glory. God said, I will cause all my goodness to pass before you, and I'll proclaim the name of God before you, and I'll be gracious to whom I'll be gracious, and I'll be compassionate to whom I'll be compassionate. And God said, you can't see my presence, for no human can see the presence and live. And God said, behold, there is a place with me, and you shall set yourself on the rock. My glory will pass by you, and I'll put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover it over you with my hand until I pass by. Then I'll remove my hand, and you'll see my back, but my face you shall not see. These couple of verses are extremely complicated verses of the Torah. What is the story? What's going on over here? And as I said, you can go all the way from the Kabbalah to many commentators. What is this? What is the dialogue? What did Moshe Rabbeinu want, and what did God respond? We're going to go to the simple Rashi. Rashi has to explain a 5-year-old. We're all 5-year-olds. We're going to go to the simple Rashi, and Rashi explains to a simple person what the meaning of the story is. So Rashi says as follows on this verse. Vayem Hashem, God said, I'll cause, etc. The time has come for you to see my glory, that I'll permit you because I want and I need to teach you the order of prayer. The Eibishter said that, which is today, the order of prayer, the foundation of prayer is actually today's Ki Tisa, the 13 principles of mercy that a person calls out to God through the 13 attributes of mercy. So the Eibishter says to the Moshe Rabbeinu, God says, in essence, Moshe Rabbeinu wants this relationship with God. He wants to see God's essence. And God says, you cannot see my essence, but I'm going to give you, which in essence means I'm going to give the world, the Jewish people. I'm going to give them something that's going to give them the concept of prayer. I'm going to give them the power of prayer, the tools for prayer. I'll proclaim, continue to Rashi, I'll proclaim the name of God before you to teach you the procedure for begging for compassion, praying, even in the merits of the patriarch depleted, because Moshe Rabbeinu kept on coming with the merits of the patriarchs. That was his tool, his connection, right? He kept on coming with the patriarchs. God said, "What's going to happen if the patriarchs you won't be able to connect to the patriarchs. So I'm going to give you something that you yourself will use. Every Jew can use it. You will see me." Look at the words of the Rashi. This is based on a medrash. You will see me enwrapped in a talit, proclaiming the 13 attributes of mercy. We do this every year. We do this every year. We do exactly what happened, because it says, the Medrash says right away, Moshe Rabbeinu wrapped himself in a talis, and he did it. So when did this happen? This happened on the night of Yom Kippur, right? When we come to say Kol Nidrei. It's the only night that every Jewish man wears a talis for Ma'ariv, right? Some people have a custom that even the Chazan wears a talis for Ma'ariv. Chabad, we don't do that. So we only wear a talis for Ma'ariv, and even by regular Jews, all Jews, everybody who's davening wears a talis for Ma'ariv. The only time in the year that we wear a talis for Ma'ariv is on Yom Kippur by night. So why? Because we're reenacting this story. We're putting on a talis for Ma'ariv and for Kol Nidrei, because that's what Moshe Rabbeinu. That's and you'll remember that we throughout the entire day. I don't know how many times we say this prayer, Hashem, Hashem, especially as we come to Nila. And even at nighttime, at Ma'ariv, we say it a couple of times in the Ma'ariv. Because again, this whole Yom Kippur is the concept of this aspect of putting on the talis. By mentioning before me words of compassion and grace, they will be answered, for my compassion never abates. So here we have the talis. Here's the first time we have the talis. We put on a talis because God put on a talis. So let's see why. Now we go to the next step, the next Rashi. Rashi says at the last words of this statement, you'll see my back. What Rashi says, he showed him the knot of the tefillin. Right? In the back, there's a knot in the tefillin. So you have a knot in the hand. There's a knot in the hand tefillin. And there's a knot in the back of the tefillin. Yeah? With the tefillin. Show you. Don't do that one. Right? Put on the base. What? Okay. Show and tell.
Yeah.
Right. This is a head tefillin. Right?
We were just like 5-year-olds.
Right.
Show and tell.
Show and tell. Right? So you put on tefillin. See, there's a knot in the back of the head, right?
Yeah.
Right? You see the knot?
Yeah.
Okay. So Rashi says that he showed him the knot in the back in the head of his tefillin. That means, first of all, we're not going to go into that one. Why? In essence, the God is wearing tefillin, right? He's wearing tefillin. Every bar mitzvah, he says a maimer, a discourse of the Rebbe, the previous Babich Rebbe, on the mitzvah of tefillin, and he says the same as the Gemara says, whatever the Eibishter, whatever God asks from a Jew, he also does. And if God asks a Jew to put on tefillin, he puts on tefillin. Tefillin demara alma maksibu. What is written in God's tefillin? Umikam chaka in our tefillin is the love of God, and in God's tefillin is the love of the Jew.
Picture in your living room.
What?
The picture in your living room. Hashem's wearing the phone.
Oh, that's Hashem. That's a rabbi. Okay, fine, correct. Okay, look at that. He remembers the picture of my living room. Okay, I don't even remember the picture of my living room. Okay, very good. So here Rashi tells us the secret of the talis and the tefillin. The secret of the talis and the tefillin is that the Eibishter put on a talis and tefillin, showed Moshe Rabbeinu that the real power, if he wants to have God's compassion, the real power is going to be a Jew putting on a talis and a tefillin. That's the power. Put on a talis and put on a tefillin. If you're going to do those two things, and we do it together every morning, in the weekday, we put on a talis, and together we put on a tefillin, and we daven the whole service with our talis and tefillin. Because not only you're doing a mitzvah, but there's a power behind this mitzvah. There's more than just a mitzvah, because in essence, the Gemara says that that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. It was Yom Kippur, so he didn't put on tefillin, and it was a nighttime, but the Eibush is above time. But he put on a talis, and he prayed to Hashem. He mentioned the 13 principles of mercy, 13 principles of mercy, and the Eibush, and God responded, "Salachti, I forgive the Jewish nation." So the question is asked. So so why talis and tefillin? That's really the question. Still didn't answer the question of why dafka talis and tefillin? Why not any other mitzvah in the Torah? Why dafka? Why specifically the talis and tefillin? So to answer this question, there's a general question that is asked. We all know in text number 4, the Gemara says that ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, Jews are believers, the sons of believers. Right? It's a Gemara in Shabbos. They are believers, as the verse states, and the nation believed. They are children of believers, as the verse states, and everyone believed. So this is not just that we just believe. We have a history of belief. What is the Jewish belief? What is the Jewish belief? We believe in God. The whole world believes in God. Everybody believes in God. So what is the belief? Maninim b'nei maminim, that there's a Jewish belief. Everybody believes in it. The whole world is believers in general. Majority of the world are believers. So what is the Jewish belief? So hopefully you've come to Chabad many times. You learn Chassidus, right? Jewish belief is in the oneness of God, that God, in essence, creates the world continuously. Because when you create something from nothing, if you create something from something, you can create it and then walk away from it, like anybody who creates something. So like everybody wants the name on their building, on the name on the design, right? Because they created it, but the thing doesn't need them anymore. But they like the name to be mentioned, right? Oh, he designed it, he built it. Because it is an unbelievable thing to build a building or to create a design. So the guy has to put his name on it, you know? But really the truth is the picture doesn't need him anymore. The building doesn't need him anymore.
Yeah, I get the one.
Take for example, you have water you take a water if you like to play with water. Anybody like to play with water over here? There's a different age. Yeah, some people love to play with water, right? You take water, you blow on it. you blow on water, it moves. It moves. You stop blowing, it comes back to its space, right? You take water, you put it in a cup, the water got a form. You spill it out of the cup, it returns to be what water is. Because why? Because the nature of water is to spread out. That's the nature of water, to be fluid. So when I blow on it or I put it in a cup, I'm changing its nature. What's the nature of the world? To be nothing. That's the nature of the world, is to be ayin, is to be nothing. So why is it something? Because God continuously says, let there be world. It's interesting to me always, in fact, because when you learn this concept, then you always how we argue how old the world is, right? And in Chassidus, it doesn't make sense, the argument, because God created the world right now. So what's the difference if it was 5,000, 10 billion? What's the difference? If you believe in Chassid, in Torah, there's no difference how many years ago it was. Because it's not true. God creates the world right now. So it didn't happen 5,000 years ago. It didn't happen 10 million years ago, or put any number you want to it. It happened right now. HaMechadish, we say that on davening. HaMechadish b'tuva b'chol yom tamid. The Eibishter who creates the world continues every day continuously. So what is the difference that it's 5,000 or 10,000? What's the difference? To a Jew, it doesn't make a difference. It's not a fight. It's not a dilemma. It's not an issue. Because as a Jew, I believe the Eibishter created the world right now. The Alter Rebbe, this is the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov and Kabbalah, that the Eibishter creates the world continuously, every minute, so to say. I say minute because even less than a minute, but I just give you a number. Every minute, because there's no time by God. Every minute, the Eibishter creates the world. You need to use this concept in many things in life. Okay? In anxiety, in worries, in the past, in the worry of in the dilemmas of the past, in the worry of the future. If you understand this concept, it has nothing to do with it. The past is gone. If the Eibishter created the world right now, then a minute ago is not around anymore.
That's very soothing.
And a minute for now, I don't know if it's going to be. So really, the only thing I have to worry about is this minute or this second.
Oh, my anxiety is.
I just got rid of your anxiety? That would be $69.99 as you leave the room, okay? Nothing's for free in this world. Dr. Bookin, you got to pay.
Rabbi Bucket, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
So I've heard this so many times, but it's never actually made a lot of sense.
Yes. Well, what to do? You have to learn it and learn it and learn it until it makes sense to you. It's not something that I can implant in you. That it should make sense.
Ask you a question.
Yes.
Okay.
I wish. What's your question? You have a question? Let's look at the Alter Rebbe, text number 5. Text number 5. For if the creative force were to part for even an instant, it's like again the example of blowing the water or putting the water in a cup. If I stop blowing, or a projector, for example, I have a projector showing a movie. The second I turn off the projector, that's it. The movie's gone. I turn the light off over here. The light is dark. It becomes dark. The sun moves on. It becomes dark. That's it. It's not. It's just a natural kind of thing that happens, because as the projector is showing, it's showing it. I turn it off. I turn it off. So, because the natural state of the projector is that it doesn't show anything. It's just a piece of clay. It's not a clay. It's a piece of plastic today. So it's plastic, and it has the capability to project. But what is it in its nature? It's just a piece of junk. Expensive piece of junk, but it doesn't. These things don't last even that long. So the world also, if you think about it in all these ways, the world also needs to have the force that gives it the projection. Right? I can have a humongous machine and it's all connected to a plug. I pull out the plug and the ganze machine is over. The ganze machine is still there, but it's dead. Simple as that. Today, everything's going electricity. You'll soon realize you run out of electricity, you're dead. All the heavens, God, all the heavens would become absolutely nothing. It's not that but in the context over here, the Abish just stops to want to create the world, stops saying, let there be land, let there be earth, then we don't have it. It like disappears. It goes back to the way it was. Just like the water, the second I stop blowing, it goes back to the way it was. The world goes back to the way it was. What was the world before creation? Nothing. Nothing. Actually, we before Tohu Vavohu. We're nothing. Non-existence.
He removes the sun from its place, he removes the moon from its place continuously.
Correct. That's it. So a Jew understands this concept. If a Jew understands this concept, then he understands that the Abish to create the world right now. I'm not celebrating the creation of 5,000 years ago. I'm celebrating the creation of the world right now. But Aish's Badalakim. In the beginning, God created. When was that beginning? Right now. It's an important thing, but it's a hard thing. It's not an easy thing to have that emunah. That's why maminim b'nei maminim. That's why it's implanted in us a little bit, this emunah. This emunah is not something God relied on us having this emunah on our own, because it's not something that we will have this emunah on our own. Maminim b'nei maminim. The Eibishter made sure that if the Jew would dig a little bit deeper, he'd find this emunah. Yeah. Right. Let us understand. So God uttered the words, let there be the firmament. The same is true with all created beings, things. In all upper and lower worlds, even the physical earth, all the way down to completely inanimate matter. If the creative force of the words of God used to originally create the world during the 6th day of creation were to depart for an instant, God forbid, the world would revert to absolute nothingness, exactly as before the 6 days of creation. That's emunah. That's the emunah of a Jew. Emunah of a Jew is that I believe that the Eibishter God creates the world right now with the God's words, just like He did it 5,784 years ago. I wasn't there, and you weren't there, and nobody was there. So what does it make a difference? Because it makes a difference that the Eibishter started, so to say, to speak 5,008, and he said these words, and that's why we're here today.
That's twice in the davening leading up to the Shema. Perpetually recreate.
It's in the Pesukah de Zimra.
Yeah.
It's in the Pesukah de Zimra many times. It mentions different ways. Then we have to realize that the Eibishter, that God, in essence, our emunah is, and our praise of God is not that God is the king of the world, not that God is only the creator of the world. That's fine. Like people say, what did He do first lately? He created 5,000 years ago, and He's gone on vacation. You know, there are Jews, my meaning, the Eibishter created the world, creates the world right now. And again, this concept, if you learn to see this, goes into many things. If you understand this, it should answer many things, that dilemmas you have. But the Rebbe has a bigger dilemma. If a Jew is a maimon, how is it possible for a Jew to sin? If a Jew is a maimon, a Jew is a believer that God created the world right now, then how is it possible for you to sin? How in the world is it possible for a Jew to sin? That's the Rebbe's problem. Look at text number 6. How is it possible to a Jew to behave in a way that is contrary to what they know is absolutely true? If a Jew is a believer, and as I said before, the Jew is implanted belief in his being, how is it possible? How is it possible?
Because He created the Yetzer Hara too.
No, but the truth is more powerful than any Yetzer Hara. This is creation. This truth should be more powerful than any evil inclination. Therefore, the Eibush did create a Yetzer Hara. He's going to give you the Yetzer Hara. The Rebbe is going to give you the Yetzer Hara. And that is the answer is that one does indeed know the truth. But he forgets, he momentarily forgets. That's a Yetzer Hara. No, we didn't tell you what the Yetzer Hara is. The Yetzer Hara is we forget.
They forgot all the time, Rabbi.
That's
even when
it.
they
We
were in the
keep on
desert.
forgetting.
Right.
We forget, we remember, and then we forget.
Yeah.
The truth is the Abishta gave us forgetfulness. Trust me. If we wouldn't have forgetfulness, we would never forget. Forgetfulness is something that God gave us, right? It says God wants you to forget your tzaddis and remember the good. Forget the bad, remember the good. We only remember the bad, we forgot the good. But forgetfulness is a great thing, right? What it says, that thank God we forget like sadness of passing of our loved ones, that we, after 12 months, the Eibishter planted in, that a person forgets. Chas v'shalom, because imagine if we didn't, would be a tragedy would happen and we would never forget. The Eibishter put, but ultimately, since the Eibishter God put into the system, into the being forget, we forget. So therefore, ultimately, we forget that our emunah, we forget our faith. We forget what's the meaning of our emunah. And that's a big problem. Forgetfulness is a big problem. I know this. The next statement, text number 7, affects me personally, and therefore, as I read this, I looked it up because the truth is that I struggle with the next text personally, and as I read this about it, and I read it further into it. There's always exception to the rule. I struggle with this next statement. Most psychologists and memory experts point out that one of the main reasons we forget somebody's name is that we really don't focus on the learning of its first place. So
That's true.
I don't know. It's not true. I cannot remember people's names. So I don't know. I don't know if this is I don't know. Yeah, there's too much else going on, and that's vying for our attention, and therefore we cannot remember. Why? Not because we don't have memory, because our brains are just too busy for other things. Author Ki Tisa, first piece of advice for remembering name is to decide to care. See, that's my problem. I do care, and I can't remember people's names. Sometimes I can't remember my wife's name. I should erase that one, okay?
It's actually
Rabbi.
it's not a memory problem. It's a retrieval problem. It's the memory is there, but you can't retrieve it. I just
Right,
took
and I use an association technique.
Okay, I know.
Like,
I read
why
that
do
up.
I know them?
I've tried it. I've tried association, and I have a mental block, especially when somebody asks me for a name.
Oh.
If you don't ask me for a name, I'll remember the name. The second you ask me the name, now I've lost it. It's like I've lost it in the second you ask me for the name.
You're
So
too young.
Say, what do you think about that person? No, that's asking. Can't ask me for a name. Forget it. Don't ask me what your name is. People always come up to me, sure, you remember my name? I can't even, now that you asked the question, forget it. I can't remember your name.
Don't say that. Don't say it.
I
Turn
don't
it
say that.
around.
Okay,
Turn
maybe
it
on my
around.
own
Give
prop.
me a minute. Give me a minute. It'll come to me.
No, I tried hard because as a rabbi, I think not remembering a name is just a terrible thing.
Rabbi,
No.
a lot of students
Yeah.
will come up to me, hi, how are you? And if they say to me, do you remember me? I say, I never forget a face.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. But they tell me my face has been here for like 3 months already. You can't know my name. So it doesn't work. It's a thing. I don't know. I decided I have a mental block. Whatever. Okay. But I did look up this issue because it bothered me, this text. And I read up about it, and there is exception to the rule. It's not just the general rule. It's not the truth. It's not totally written in stone. This. So if you make a conscious decision that you are going to remember the name, he explains, because you care about the people you meet, you will immediately become much better at doing it. Okay. I believe I do care about the people I meet, and I just can't remember names. What?
It makes you feel guilty and you're not guilty. We all feel it.
Okay, whatever. Ultimately, we have a problem with memory. For whatever reason, the Eibishter gave us that we are very forgetful.
It gets worse when you get older.
It's worse when you get older. So you're right. You're 100% right. I'm getting older. So God also understood in a very practical way that how would Jews remember these hidden concepts? How would Jews remember this concept? They're putting on talis and tefillin, and they are davening, they're learning, they're doing mitzvahs. How are they going to remember the true concept and everything that they're doing? Or how would they remember their emunah in the Eibush itself?
Yeah.
The maminim b'nei maminim, that they believe at this moment that they're in a challenge in life. How would they remember at this moment, which this moment is God created the world? How would I remember when I'm in a challenge to, you know what? I have no problem because God just created the world. And it's a new beginning. So the challenge of yesterday or the challenge of the minute before is gone, really. The challenge of a minute before is gone. So it's a new challenge. Maybe there's a new way of doing things, right? There's a new. It's God created the world anew, so maybe there's a new way to do things. You should know that it's an important thing that by Yidden, by Jews, first of all, Rosh Hashanah is a new beginning. It's not only Rosh Hashanah is a new beginning, but actually every year's Chodesh is called Rosh Chodesh. It's a new beginning. It's not only every Rosh Chodesh, every Sunday is a new beginning, right? Because the 7 days have passed, and Shabbos is the end of the package, and we're starting over Yom Rishon. There's no Sunday. What is Sunday called? Yom Rishon. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. How do we start even a Kabbalah, the new beginning? Chesed. Yom Rishon is Chesed, kindness. We don't start off with Monday. We start with Sunday. It's a new beginning. A new beginning is always kind because it's a new beginning. It's like a new baby. Kindness, it's beautiful. What's going to happen on Monday? Okay. But it's Sunday. It's great. It's a new beginning. Every morning is a new beginning. It's like to be nishmasi. Every morning. The Eibishter wanted, the Eibishter wanted we should feel a new beginning. It shouldn't be that it's a once a year or when I was born and that's it. You know, life goes on. You get older and older and older, and that's it. No, every day is a new beginning. Every month's a new beginning. Every day is a new beginning. Every week's a new beginning. Every year's a new beginning. Etc. New beginnings, and that's it. So the Emunah tells you that not only it's once a year, not only it's once a month, not only it's once a week, not only it's once a day. It's every minute. Every minute. So the Eibishter gave us a concept to remember, to remind ourselves. Now, it's interesting that Baruch Hashem, most classes that we give, and in this class right over here, mostly are women. Besides 1, 2, 3, okay, I got 3 men over here. Most of them are women. Because Bini is said and Nita Bisha. A greater concept of understanding was given to a woman. She doesn't have a problem with remembering so much.
That's not true.
I'm trying to stick up for you. So well, if we don't stick up for you, you complain. If I stick up for you, you complain. What should I do? I'm trying to stick up for you. I can never win. I cannot win. So therefore, what is saying the tzitzis? The tzitzis says, right in text number 8, and you shall be tzitzis for you, and you'll see them. You'll see your tzitzis. I'm wearing tzitzis right now, and I'll remember. Remember, the tzitzis is there to remind me. I shouldn't forget all the mitzvahs that God had performed them, and you shall not wander after your hearts or after your eyes. Hopefully, I'll look at the tzitzis when it doesn't always work. Trust me. I'll look at the tzitzis, and okay, the Eibush doesn't do his. He made a mitzvah. He does his to create this memory. If you don't want to remember, you don't have to. But this is what God did. So you shall not wander after your hearts, after your eyes, after which you're going astray. So do you remember? We end off the Shema and we say, So you remember to do all the mitzvahs that are holy to God. And the same thing is the tefillin. What does it say in the tefillin? Text number 8b. Oh, I like that. That's your grandchild. And he shall, in text number 8b, and it shall be to you as a sign in your hand, and as a reminder, again, memory, as a reminder between your eyes, so that the God's law shall be in your mouth, and with a mighty hand God took you out of it. Again, both, so in essence, both talis and tefillin are there for one thing. What? Remember. To remind you. How did the tzitzis remind you? This is a famous Alter Rebbe's famous Gemara. Universal, text number 9, the universal accepted custom amongst Jewish people from the ancient time is to do 5 knots in the tzitzis. So you have tzitzis, the word tzitzis, tzadik yud saf equals up to 600, right? The numerical value. Tzadik is 90, yud is 10, so that's 100. Tzadik yud is 90, 10, 100, it's 200. Stuff is 400, is 600. You have 5 strings and 8 knots. You have 613. That's it. Explanations for the Isim Oisi, you'll see the tzitzis. Because the main thing of the talis is the tzitzis, right? Talis is just a garment, it's a square garment. A square garment needs to have tzitzis. So the talis is there for the tzitzis. The tzitzis is not there for the talis is there for the tzitzis.
But Rabbi, if you already have tzitzis on, why would you need the talis if the talis tree is there for the tzitzis? When you already have tzitzis.
You need a talis to put on, you need a tzitzis to put on the talis. The talis is there for the tzitzis. They go together. The talis is a 4-corner garment. How you're allowed to wear a 4-corner garment is when you have tzitzis. So we definitely get a 4-corner garment, a talis, whether it's a talis cotton, a small talis, or a big talis. It's a 4-corner garment. And the second year you want to put on this 4-corner garment, you have to have tzitzis.
Rabbi, if this is for men, how are women? If the men wear the tzitzit,
Right.
and it makes them reminds them of the mitzvot. How are women supposed to be reminded of the mitzvot?
I just told you.
I know you said we have greater memory, but
So,
it still, there has to be something.
God gave you men, and you never forget that God is watching over you. I don't know.
There's nothing specific.
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's again, the concept is that self-understood that the Eibishter, when a man puts on a talis and puts on tzitzis, he doesn't do it only for himself. He does it for him and his wife. Every mitzvah that a man or a woman does, when you light candles, you don't light candles for yourself. You light candles for you and your husband. You do it for both. Every mitzvah we do. I don't do it for myself because I'm a chatzi neshama. I'm a half a soul. So I do it for the other side of my soul. And if you're single, there's somebody out there doing this mitzvah for you. Yeah, that's what he believes.
It's got to be a better
We are
answer.
interconnected.
There's
What?
got to be a better answer.
You
Google
know-
that. There has to be something specific to women.
Again, there is. You have mitzvahs specific to women. That when a woman does it,
I know
it's
that.
done for the husband. So when your
That's
mitzvahs that you do,
Women remember.
is done with for me. I don't. Again, the Chachamim, the Torah, doesn't obligate you in mitzvahs as man grama, in a mitzvah that has a time. Again, as I said before, if you feel you're Rashi's daughter, that you reached up to the levels of your mitzvahs and you want to go do mitzvahs more than you're supposed to do, again, I don't think Allah would demand that you can do it. The Allah wouldn't condemn you. Understand? It's not that you're putting on tefillin or wearing a talis because you want to make a statement. That's a different kind of concept. You want to be a talis because you feel this concept. And you want to do it because you feel that you want to do this mitzvah. I don't think halacha would say you would condemn you. But ultimately, halacha says you're not obligated because the Torah
Right.
didn't obligate you in the mitzvah shazman grama. That's the answer. The answer is it's a mitzvah shazman grama. It's a mitzvah that has a time to it. Any mitzvah that has a time to it, the Eibush halacha didn't obligate him to do a mitzvah shazman grama. That's it. That's it. The Eibush the halacha didn't obligate you to do the mitzvah shazman grama. You know, let me tell you something. For example, a tzitzis. Many Jews don't wear tzitzis. Why? Because the Torah tells you that when you wear a four-corner garment, you wear tzitzis. I'm not going to wear a four-corner garment. So if I'm not wearing a four-corner garment, I don't have to wear tzitzis. Right? Because that's the mitzvah. So the mitzvah is if I'm wearing a four-corner garment. If I'm not wearing a four-corner garment, so I don't have to wear tzitzis. You can't say that about tefillin. Tefillin, you have to put on tefillin. You have to put on tefillin. It's a mitzvah.
But wait, I thought
that
that men wear the talit katan because they don't have their talis every day, so they wear the talit katan.
Correct.
Correct.
So we want to. So that's why we're people that we're running to do a mitzvah, even though we're not obligated in a way, because it's only the mitzvah that if I have a four-corner garment, I wear it. So I want to dafka wear a four-corner garment. So that's why it's called in halacha and Torah and Gemara. It's called a mitzvah kala. It's an easy mitzvah because you're not obligated to wear tzitzis. I can really put on a pair of tzitzis, make a bracha, and then take it off. I don't want to wear a four-corner garment. If I don't want to wear a four-corner garment, I don't have to wear tzitzis. But I want to wear tzitzis, right? Chabad, many Jews only wear tzitzis during the day. At night, they don't wear tzitzis. Chabad actually wears tzitzis at night also.
They don't sleep.
They sleep in tzitzis. We sleep in tzitzis. So we wear tzitzis 24/7. We have a different talis cotton for the night and for the day. So why? Not because we're obligated per se. We want to become obligated. Okay. So if you want to become obligated, so get a four-corner garment and wear tzitzis. You don't have to. It says when you wear a four-corner garment, you should put on tzitzis. So we obligated a man ultimately. We did obligate a man to put on to wear a talis. See, that's why you have some communities that are under 13, they wear a talis. 13, they wear a talis. Why? Because many of them don't wear tzitzis, so they want them to wear a talis. At least they put on a talis in the morning and they make a bracha. I wore a talis, cut my whole life since I was, 3 years old. So I don't need it. I didn't have to put on talis. I didn't have to wear a big talis when I got married. I was still wearing a tzitzis. When I got married, what changed was I don't make a bracha on my talis cotton anymore. I don't make a bracha on my talis cotton anymore. When I got married, I started making a bracha on the talis gadol, on the big talis that I put on every morning in shul. So I don't make a bracha on the talis cotton anymore. I made a bracha on the talis cotton until I got married. Second, I got married, I transformed my bracha. Even though I wear talis cotton, I put it on the morning before I put on the talis gadol, right? Because I put on my talis cotton when I get up in the morning. I nevertheless don't make a bracha on it because I know that whenever I'm going to get to shul, I'm going to make a bracha on the talis gadol and the big talis. And that talis gadol will automatically take in my talis cut. Yeah, my small talis. But ultimately, my point over here is that but ultimately, as going back to your question, the basic answer is a mitzvah shazman grama, and there's no mitzvah that has zman grama that the Torah obligated you, unless certain ones like eating Pesach, you're obligated because you were part of the nest. And the Gemara goes through all these different things, like the Megillah is coming up. Women are obligated in hearing Megillah. Now, Megillah is also a mitzvah shazman grama, because you only hear the Megillah at night and a day, and a certain day, the 14th of the month. But the Gemara says, because you were part of the miracle, the women were also part of the miracle. The decree was on the men and the women. So therefore, women should hear the Megillah like men. But really, it's a mitzvah shazman grama. It's a mitzvah that has a time. So really, you wouldn't be obligated. But you are obligated. They obligated you. So as usual, many people say, why wasn't I obligated? I don't know. I would say, why was I obligated? Maybe if you were obligated, you'd say, oh, I wish I wasn't obligated. But okay. It's always we always want it's like human nature to want things that we don't have.
Thomas candles, that's time.
That's it.
You have to do it, you know.
The truth is, a mitzvah. The truth is that the mitzvah Shabbos candles were given to both men and women.
No, that's right.
But a woman does that mitzvah, but not that it was given to per se. It was given to light Shabbos candles, and women took that mitzvah, but not that it was per se. Because if you don't have a wife, God forbid, you light Shabbos candles. Your wife went away from the city. You should light Shabbos candles. Okay, let's go back to this subject. Now the 600th commandment, the Hebrew word tzitzis, is numerical equivalent to 600, together with 8 strands, and the 5 knots,
13.
5 knots and 8 strands comes up to 613. So that's why when you look at the tzitzis, that's what we got into those conversations. You look at the tzitzis, you now look at the talis. That's why the custom is many have a custom to wear the tzitzis out, right? You don't see my talis. Or some people have a custom. Some communities have a custom. They wear the whole talis out, right? And Hungarians, they wear the whole talis out. By Chabad, we wear the talis in. You don't see my talis, you see my tzitzis. Not seeing my talis. So you have different customs of how people ultimately wear their talis and how they show their tzitzis, etc. Now, some people say you don't have to show it always. Risa might say, why do I need to show them always, right? I can put them in my pocket. I can hide them, really, right? Risa might say means that's why we take out the tzitzis when we say the Shema, we kiss it. So we want to see it. You have to see it to follow the verse. But regularly, my day job, I don't have to keep it out. But the truth is, the Isa might say the point of seeing it is that I should have some remind me of who I am.
Rabbi Bookett,
Yes.
is it inappropriate for me to say something that I learned about women and the whole thing of these mitzvahs?
No, say it.
Okay, so what I learned was, and you may not agree, but what I was taught was that men are more need more externals and women are more internal. So that men need external things to help them connect, where women connect more internally, and would include a minyan, would include tzitzis, these external measures. So that's what I learned.
Beautiful. That's what I said before. So I said, Bini is Seder, need to be Isha. Seder is the same way. A deeper level of a relationship between God was given to a woman. Therefore, she has a much deeper relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, a man is external. Agree. Man is a worldly machine. And therefore, but today, the difference is today has become like a mixture of it. And we have, women can say the dust is external as men, and men can say the dust is internal as women. But you're right, yes. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe says in text number 10, we're running out of time. When putting on tefillin, one should keep in mind that the Holy One, blessed be He, commanded us to write these 4 passages that speaks of God's unity and the exodus of Egypt, and to place them on our arm in the opposite of our heart, on our head, over the brain. We do this to remember the miracles and wonders that God did for us and to reflect His unity, demonstrating that He has the power and the sovereignty to do as He desires in the upper realms and in the lower realms. One should therefore subjugate his soul, which resides in his brains, to the Holy One, blessed be He, along with the desires and the thoughts of his heart, to the service of God. Thus, by putting on tefillin, he remembers the Creator, blessed be He, and minimizes his pleasure seeking. That's the Alter Rebbe. Control yourself in this world. If I believe that David created the world, then it didn't create this world only for my physical pleasures.
What's wrong with Increasing your pleasure.
Yeah, you should increase your pleasure, but also increase the pleasure for God. If you can do that, that all your pleasures are l'shem shamayim, then you have a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
yes.
I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you. The pointing is over here, as he's going to go say over here, the concept of binding, right? Kesher. He showed him the knot, right? Maybe you have to understand the Gemara. You have to understand the Gemara. It's a Rashi. So Rashi tells a 5-year-old to all of us, says, listen, the Eibush is wearing tefillin, and that's like I showed you my knot on my tefillin. The Eibush has a knot. What is a knot? A knot.
Fine.
Binds, correct. Binding, the binding. Shaitim leisaidecha. You bind it on your hand. The concept of kshira. So you have text number 11. Back in the day, Mike Gershon, I don't know who this is. What does the knot in a handkerchief have to do with your child's learning? Text number 11, page 143. Back in the day, people used to carry handkerchiefs. My father used to carry a handkerchief. And I don't see that anymore.
No.
In their pockets more frequently than they do now. Today, there aren't so many people wandering around the streets with one tucked inside his pocket. But I remember my father always used to wear a handkerchief around his neck.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Yeah. Well, I never did carry a handkerchief. But a handkerchief's hand, and it continued to have many uses. There's one particular use that is often overlooked: the ability to tie a knot. That's right, a knot. A knot tied in a handkerchief. Trust me, this will soon start to make sense. People would tie a knot in their handkerchief to remind themselves not to forget something. The knot in the handkerchief couldn't tell them what they needed to remember. But it can tell them that they needed to remember something.
To write it on the handkerchief.
Exactly.
Today you have Alexa, That's the knot.
Rabbi, they used to tie with a string on the finger.
Oh,
So
yeah?
you shouldn't forget. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I never knew that one. Person would pull their handkerchief out of their pocket, see that there's a knot. They would they tied earlier in the day, and then ask themselves what they needed to remember. Sometimes they would recall whatever it was instantly. Sometimes require a little bit of extra thought in racking their brains. But a knot couldn't help but serve as a reminder, as a prompt, as a memory tool. So we find this in the Torah also. In Proverbs, in text number 12, he says, bind them always upon your heart and tie them upon your neck. Now I understand my father. Maybe he tried to remember something. I don't know. I always I thought about why you have this hanging. I think Captain Cool. Chia said in the name Rabbi Yasi, text number 13. One day I was traveling and I heard and I saw Rab Huna Saba explaining a certain verse to Rab Chia Abrach. When I heard that explanation, I rejoiced and I guarded it, knotted in the corner of my garment. I decided, how do I remember that teaching? Right? So he took it and knotted in his corner of the garment so that you should never forget it. They said to him, this is surely a holy explanation that emanated from the source of the holy light. Fortunate is a generation whose members include those who uphold and support the world. If you tied one knot, so you should remember this explanation, I shall tie 30 or 40 knots. Thank God you have some memory. I'm losing my memory. The Alter Rebbe gives examples. Explain, for example, if someone cautious their friends to remember something, the friend will tie a knot in their belt as a reminder. Accordingly, the Alter Rebbe said the tzitzis on each corner have 5 knots, which symbolize the 5 books of the Torah. Remember, there's 5 books. There are also 4 corners, so whichever direction a person turns, he'll remember the mitzvah. You shall tie them a sign, and that's what the pasuk says in tefillin. You shall tie them a sign upon your hands, and they shall be an ornament between your eyes. It makes again, the tefillin is a concept of a sign. It's a concept of remember, shaitem, the knot that we put on our hands, the knot that we put on the head is a sign that we should remember. It's important that even though we're mamina b'nei mamina, we are believers, the sons of believers, but we all struggle with our memory. We all struggle with our memory. And that's why the Eibush to put some situations in the Torah, in our day-to-day life, especially for a man, that he comes in the morning and he puts on a talis, and he davens the whole davening with a talis. Not only does the mitzvah, he davens the whole davening, he wears a talis, or he wears a talis cotton the whole day, or he puts on tefillin. If you ever go to Yerushalayim, you go to Israel, see this more than in America, is that some people wear tefillin the whole day.
Oh, yeah, I've seen.
Yeah. I haven't seen in America that. I've seen that in Israel. In Yerushalayim, I've seen people walking on tefillin all day. And they wear tefillin all day. Because in essence, but the Eibishter wants you that there's two things you shouldn't be masach das. You should never forget. And that is your tzitzis, or the isa b'isay. That's where, again, some have a custom to wear the talis cotton on top of them and to wear the tzitzis. And, when you see a Jew wearing a talis cotton on top of it, I don't know if you've ever seen, but it looks a little bit interesting, right? Guy's walking around with it, and he's wearing this talis cotton. When I walk into Publix, I'm wearing tzitzis. I usually get a comment here and there. It's Jews usually, right? Why are you wearing that? Why are you wearing that out? Put it in you're wearing it out. You're creating anti-Semitism, whatever.
Yeah.
People say these things to me. Not goyim, yidden.
Right.
So it's like a statement, and the truth is that's the point. That's the idea, is to make a statement, to do something different, make a knot, do something different. So not that somebody else will tell you, but you know yourself that you talk a difference. Who is walking around, especially you can buy different kinds of tzitzis today, right? My talis cotton is made out of wool, so it's a hot statement.
Rabbi,
And it's something that you cannot forget in Florida, that you're wearing a talis cotton, because it gets extremely warm.
constant
And
reminder.
it's something to remember. Yes.
Rabbi, I have Bina, she's been listening in, and she has a question. I want to see. Okay, go ahead, Bina.
When we do the tzitzit, Rabbi, we do 7, and then 8, 11, and 13. Why those numbers?
With the knots.
Those I don't want to answer to you that offhand. I know I read this answer. It's Kabbalistic concepts. It's more of a Kabbalistic concept. The 7 and the 11 and 13. So I will get back to you on that, okay? Because I don't want to say something wrong. But it is written clearly why they have these numbers.
Rabbi, I have to share that when I see a gentleman wearing tzitzits, I'm comforted
Beautiful.
that they're
Beautiful.
exist
That is beautiful.
and they're out in public and letting us
Beautiful.
know. It's
That's
comforting
beautiful.
to me.
Okay, good. No, thank you for saying
And you
that.
could tell them I said that if somebody questions.
I appreciate that, because usually you don't get that kind of a comment from people.
Oh, yes.
I usually and in Mir Shem, not only you should be comforted, but you should tell the person that.
Yes,
That's okay. Good. You tell
absolutely.
them. That's beautiful.
Oh, yes.
That's because I usually get the opposite response. But which I tell a Jew, don't be ashamed of who you are, and don't be embarrassed who you are, and there's nothing wrong about it. And a Jew should not be fearful to wear his tzitzis or his yarmulke, or
Right.
a girl should not be afraid to wear the chai, and all these things. We got to stop having fear of who we are. We actually have to have it. So that's a separate issue. It's not the concept of remembrance, but it's more of a concept to have Jewish pride. That's a separate issue over here. The Rebbe is not talking about that. The Rebbe is talking to the person to himself, that a Jew needs to have a reminder, and there's nothing wrong with a Jew having a reminder, walking different. The Rebbe talked about tznius of a woman. That's self-understood. It's a hard thing to do in the world that we live in, to be more tznius, to be modest, and people struggle with it. But that's the point. That's the point, that a person should be modest and follow the law, because he's a Yid. And even though it's gonna, you're gonna maybe look out differently a little bit because the way, especially in Florida, you might look different. But that's the point. The point is, you should be a light to the world, not the world should be a light for you. A Jew should be a light to the world. And they should not forget that. The world shouldn't remind him that he's different because of other reasons. He should remind the world he's different because he's a Jew that follows Torah mitzvahs. And not only that follows Torah mitzvahs, he enjoys to follow Torah mitzvahs. And he has no shame in his following of Torah mitzvahs. And as he's still an American or Australian or whatever he might call himself, an Israeli, he's still a proud Jew. And that's the beauty of all these mitzvahs that the Eibishter gave us. Wish you all a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Happy
you
day,
too.
a healthy
Thank
day.
you.